Hey guys, thank you for watching the SlatRock channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. And if you've already done so, just make sure that it's still active. The wrestling world has had some heartbreaking stories, with wrestlers' lives spiraling out of control and ending in their death by suicide. Thanks to friends, family, and in some cases outsiders, these suicide attempts have failed. Today we present you with 14 wrestlers who nearly committed suicide. Where are they now? Number 14. AJ Lee. With her incredible in-ring skill and love of pop culture, AJ Lee amassed an army of loyal fans during her career before retiring from the ring shortly after WrestleMania 31 in 2015. In 2017, Lee published her memoirs, Crazy is My Superpower, and went into great detail about the troubles she had faced during her life, her career, and choosing to walk away from the ring after being caught in the real-life feud between her husband CM Punk and WWE. In the book, the three-time Divas champion also revealed that she suffers from bipolar disorder and at one point in her life overdosed on prescription painkillers while she was also taking antidepressants at the time. Lee even said that she didn't even realize that she was taking her own life at the time, but given how she was feeling mentally, she definitely considers the actions she took as an attempt to commit suicide. Speaking to Fox Sports that year, Lee said how she had initially not included her suicide attempt in the book, saying, "The first draft of the book didn't have that, because I had chickened out hard and was just like, okay, I'm going to tell this story and tell people to open up and be brave about mental illness." Fortunately, Lee is in a much better place now, and her book has helped countless fans of the former WWE superstar, many of whom have also suffered from similar issues. Most recently, AJ has worked with comics creator IDW Publishing, writing the first issue of the comic book Glow vs. the Babyface alongside Dexter actor Amy Garcia. Earlier this year, the pop culture powerhouse teased returning to WWE, telling fans to never say never in an interview with FS1's Fair Game. Number 13. Tommy Dreamer. Regarded to by many as the heart and soul of the original ECW, Tommy Dreamer was a true staple of the Extreme promotion, staying with the company until its final days in 2001. As you can imagine, Dreamer was very upset with the collapse of ECW, but was just as angry at Paul Heyman, the former owner of ECW, who had begged Dreamer to stay when he was receiving offers elsewhere, but had jumped ship to the WWF shortly before ECW's demise. On his House of Hardcore podcast, Dreamer spoke this year about how he competed in Houston on the same weekend as WrestleMania 17 and planned to take his own life in dramatic fashion. According to Dreamer himself, he at one point considered jumping the barricade of the Showcase of the Immortals with a gun, plotting to take his revenge on Heyman before taking his own life in the middle of the ring. Obviously, and thankfully, this didn't happen, as Mania 17, often called the greatest pay-per-view of all time by fans, went off without a hitch, thanks in part to Jim Ross. According to Dreamer, good old JR called the ECW star, letting him know that the company was still interested in him, and within months, he would be signed by WWF, working as part of the Invasion storyline. Getting to compete at WrestleMania 23 in 2007, Dreamer would win the ECW World title in 2009 before ending his WWE career shortly after. Nowadays, Dreamer continues to wrestle sporadically for the House of Hardcore promotion which he owns, and also hosts the House of Hardcore podcast. In 2019, Dreamer has worked closely with Impact Wrestling and AEW, competing in the new promotion's Casino Battle Royal at May's Double or Nothing pay-per-view, and worked backstage during All Out, bringing his decades of wrestling knowledge to the new company. Number 12. Melina. Though she may have been one of WWE's biggest personalities during her tenure, things were not so easy for former superstar Melina. Joining the company in 2004, Melina debuted alongside Joey Mercury and Johnny Nitro the following year, and would move to Raw with Nitro in 2006. Speaking to Lillian Garcia on the Announcers Chasing Glory podcast earlier this year, though, Melina spoke about the struggles she's faced during her career, revealing that she had been sexually assaulted as an adult and had faced bullying within the company. The former women's champion didn't give many details about how she attempted to take her own life, but did reveal it happened while she was nursing a leg injury, and spoke candidly on what her mind went through at the time, saying, "You think about the people around you, and you tell yourself they are better off without you. A lot of times, the people who care and have the biggest hearts are the ones that say everybody's lives would be better if I wasn't here. Instead of taking her own life, though, Melina would push past her mental health issues and would have an incredible career, becoming the first woman to have multiple reigns as both the Women's and Divas champion. Leaving the company in 2011, Melina would make her return 8 years later, appearing on this past July's Raw reunion, where she officiated an impromptu match between then 24/7 champion Candice Michelle and Alundra Blaze. Outside of WWE, the 40-year-old superstar continues to work on the independent scene, becoming a regular of the A Matter of Pride wrestling promotion, and on October 1st made her NWA Power debut, aligning herself with the villainous Marty Bell. Number 11. Paige. From the moment Paige joined WWE in 2011, the British superstar stood out from the crowd. With her unique look, Paige was unlike any other woman on the roster, and in 2013 became the very first NXT Women's Champion. Capturing the WWE Divas title on her first night on the main roster, things seemed to be going great for the British superstar, though things sadly went downhill. After a series of suspensions and injuries forced her to take time away from the ring, Paige was one of several celebrities who had private photos leaked without their consent, which made her already pre-existing mental health issues even worse. Speaking on Lillian Garcia's podcast, the former Divas champion even said that she had considered taking her own life, and that she also was diagnosed with stress-induced anorexia as well as losing her hair because of the trauma. In one part of the podcast, Paige tells a story about crying in a public bathroom after one so-called fan spotted her in the street and called her a porn star instead of a wrestler. In recent years, though, Paige has seemingly been in a better place and told Lillian that it was a letter from a fan that called the superstar her biggest inspiration that motivated her to keep going. After retiring from the ring in 2018, Paige operated as the general manager of SmackDown, and in February 2019 had her story released as the biopic Fighting With My Family, starring Florence Pugh as Paige herself alongside The Rock. In April this year, Paige revealed herself as the manager of the Kabuki Warriors, though with the raven-haired manager out rehabbing from another surgery and the team of Asuka and Sane recently turning heel, the future is unclear for Paige. Number 10. Xavier Woods. As one-third of the popular New Day stable and the host of the YouTube channel Up Up Down Down, fans wouldn't be blamed for thinking Xavier Woods is permanently in a good mood. Woods, who joined the main roster in 2014, has certainly had an incredible 5 years thus far on Raw and SmackDown, winning Tag Team Gold on 6 different occasions, though things haven't all been so positive for the New Day star. For Suicide Prevention Day in September last year, Woods was just one of several WWE superstars who spoke out against suicide, but admitted he had attempted to take his own life during his younger years. While Woods gave no details on how he attempted to end it all, the Master of Positivity did say that he was stopped in the final moments by a close friend who helped him through the pain. It's a good thing that Woods had a friend at his darkest time, as the 33-year-old superstar has gone on to become one of WWE's most popular stars in recent history and has entertained millions of fans. This year, Woods was a key player in Kofi Kingston's rise to the WWE Championship this past April and captured the SmackDown Tag Team Championships with Big E at Extreme Rules, becoming a record-tying 4-time champion with the blue title. Whether it's competing in the ring, entertaining his fans on his YouTube gaming channel Up Up Down Down, or even co-writing the New Day's 2016 memoirs The Book of Booty, Woods always brings his A-game to whatever he does, thanks to the timely intervention of a true friend all those years ago. Number 9. Tadao Yasuda. Tadao Yasuda is a former sumo and professional wrestler from Japan. He made his debut in 1994, and after a lengthy career as a sumo wrestler, Yasuda had a successful career as a wrestler, and has majorly worked for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but it was reported that he became known as the Borrowing Money King after he was known to have borrowed money from various sources to cover his gambling debts. At one point, this became too much for the Japanese star, and back in October 2007, it was reported that he tried to commit suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. Luckily, his friend found him in time, and he was taken to the hospital. There were fears that there could be potential brain damage, but Yasuda managed to recover and returned to wrestling not long afterwards. Apart from wrestling, he also ventured into MMA with a record of 2 wins and 4 losses. He announced his retirement from professional wrestling at the beginning of 2001 and is taking care of his businesses in Japan. Number 8. Matt Sinister. Matt Sinister was a commentator for Empire Wrestling Federation and a longtime wrestler who is pretty famous in the Southern California area. Matt made his wrestling debut back in 1994 and went on to wrestle for many promotions including EWF and Revolution Pro. He was the longtime Rev Pro Mexican Lucha Libre heavyweight champion and was an active wrestler until 2010. He began having problems a few years prior to his suicide attempt when he was diagnosed with depression, bipolar disorder, and testicular cancer. Back in June 2016, his wife found him unconscious on the living room floor after he had attempted to commit suicide by taking a large amount of pills. His wife called an ambulance and luckily the paramedics managed to save him. Even though he was in a coma for a while, he seems to have recovered and moved on with his life. He is now a stand-up comedian and an occasional wrestling commentator. Number 7. Chris Hamrick. Chris Hamrick made his debut in 1994 for WWE as a jobber and did the JOB for several stars, including Razor Ramon, Owen Hart, Billy Gunn, and Jeff Jarrett. His big break came in ECW. This former ECW original is known to be very active on social media, especially Facebook. Back in the summer of 2010, many friends and fans got a surprise when they woke up to a message on their Facebook wall that read, "Big announcement tonight. Stay tuned, it's to die for." Several hours later, Hamrick posted the following: "Hey world, I just took 25 sleeping pills. Good night." Many concerned friends sent an ambulance to his address to check on him. It seems that Hamrick had been going through some hard times and that his attempted suicide was a cry for help. He spent a few days in the hospital and the authorities then gave him the appropriate help with the support of his family. Hamrick is famously known as a fake version of Triple H. He was in a segment with King Booker, leading up to Booker's match with Triple H at SummerSlam. Chris worked for many promotions in the UK and also made several appearances with TNA. One of his most recent matches took place in February 2015 in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Hamrick is semi-retired now and seems to have found his feet outside of wrestling ever since. Number 6. Sam Houston. Sam Houston came from one of the most famous families in professional wrestling. The half-brother of Jake the Snake Roberts, the son of Grizzly Smith, and the husband of Baby Doll, Sam had a great climb in wrestling and fought some of the biggest stars of the last generation, including Ric Flair, Kurt Hennig, and Bam Bam Bigelow. Inside the ring, Sam had it all. But outside of the squared circle, he struggled with alcohol and drug addictions, which made his life challenging. Houston spent time in prison from 2009 to 2013 for several DUI arrests. He said he tried and failed to take his life while in prison. Houston has since cleaned himself up and returned to wrestling. Smith also tried to open his own wrestling company called Mid-South Entertainment. He only ran one show, booking the likes of Rod Price, One Man Gang, and many local wrestlers. Unfortunately, things haven't been that great ever since he was a victim of the floods in Louisiana, where he managed to lose a lot of his possessions. Number 5. Sabu. Sabu is one of the craziest and most out-of-control wrestlers that the circuit has ever seen. There's a reason he's known as the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying superstar, and it seems that he really is death-defying after a near-death experience back in 2012. Sabu was found unresponsive in his hotel room by the Extreme Reunion staff back in April 2012 and was rushed to a nearby hospital after it was deemed that he had taken a mixture of alcohol and drugs which had caused the overdose. It was later covered up by the wrestling promotion when they reported that Sabu had an allergic reaction to medication. Sabu later checked himself out of the hospital. Speaking to a local news reporter, he admitted that he was indeed in a suicidal mode at the time and actually contemplated suicide. He is semi-retired now and makes appearances at wrestling events and works for several independent promotions time and again. Number 4. Marc Mero. Marc Mero is a former WWE superstar and the former husband of Sable. He currently works as a motivational speaker after going through some of the toughest times of his life thanks to the addictions that he had to drugs and alcohol. Marc has admitted that after he lost many family members a few years ago, he sunk into depression and he has overdosed more than once. He said he was fully ready to commit suicide until he had a personal revelation that changed his entire life. He said that he realized that happiness was a choice, and since then, he has preached this message to others, and now speaks at more than 200 events every year. Mero found his own way out of his problems, and now tries to help others see things the same way that he did. We got in touch with Mark several months ago, and agreed to share one of his most inspirational videos. Guys, you might want to check this out. The link is in the description. Number 3. Lex Luger. Lex Luger was once a huge star in both WWE and WCW, but after his career was over and following the death of Miss Elizabeth, it seems that Luger reached the point of no return in his life. Luger was blamed for Elizabeth's death by many and ultimately became depressed following the entire affair. Luger later admitted that this was a dark time for him, and that there were many times when he nearly died from drug overdoses. He said he would start taking drugs to a level that he wouldn't wake up again. Things reached a new level in 2006 when he was sent to prison for a parole violation. However, when in prison, he met a prison chaplain, and thankfully, that changed his life. He became a born-again Christian and has now dedicated his life to helping others overcome the same problems that he had. He currently works for WWE as a nutrition consultant. Number 2. X-Pac. X-Pac has had a tough life. From being abused by his stepmother growing up to finding wrestling as his only outlet, X-Pac went on to become a popular member of D-Generation X. Things took a major turn in X-Pac's career when he released an amateur porn film, One Night in China, with his then-girlfriend Joni Laurer, aka China. X-Pac went through many personal problems at that time and has battled drug and alcohol addictions for many years. It all came to a head back in 2008 when X-Pac was in Mexico and he had an argument with his girlfriend at the time, Alicia Webb. She later found that X-Pac had attempted to hang himself and so called an ambulance and got him the appropriate help. X-Pac is still battling drug issues. He still makes appearances for WWE and wrestles on the indie scene. Number 1. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was once the best-known wrestler in the world. He has wrestled all over the world, but the last few years have not been kind to the Hulkster. Hogan stated he was at the point where he wanted to kill himself and actually attempted suicide when his life began to unravel. He lost all of his money, his kids left him for a brief period, and not to mention his very infamous divorce to Linda. Hogan revealed about his suicide attempt in a 2014 documentary, Finding Hulk Hogan. In the documentary, Hogan clearly says, "I wanted to end all of this and I had a gun in my mouth." Thankfully, he chose not to pull the trigger and has made peace with his past. He married Jennifer McDaniel and has been staying close to his kids. He was successful in suing Gawker for $100 million, and this has since helped him to get his life back on track. Hogan has also been rumored to be returning to WWE in the near future.